So you want to become smarter. In most parts of the world, people say it takes 12 years of school, followed by 4 years of college, and then another 6 years of graduate school to achieve that. But what you actually end up with is unemployment. And no, that's not even a joke. On the bright side, at least when you write a Reddit post about struggling to find a job, your grammar will be flawless. If you haven't guessed from the title, becoming smart is actually quite simple. Even if you think your genetics make you dumb, compared to other animals, you're already pretty overpowered. When people like you and me say we want to get smarter, we usually mean a few things. We want to learn useful skills, ideally ones that make money. We want to become better at solving problems, hopefully in a way that also makes money. We want to get good grades and master difficult subjects, partly to increase our earning potential and partly just to flex on others. And lastly, we want to sound intelligent in conversations, just enough to earn respect, but not so much that people start labeling us as nerds. The problem is that most advice on the internet is so vague and philosophical that even if it works, the only people who can actually follow it are Oprah and Socrates. On the other hand, if you search for specific, actionable advice, this is what you'll find. Eat blueberries. They're good for your brain. Drink black coffee, exercise, get more sleep. Take IQ tests, listen to classical music. These things sound helpful, but at some point, you have to, actually learn something. Even in the past, there were geniuses who spent all day at their desks, barely getting 2 to 4 hours of sleep. So what can you actually do to get smarter that isn't just the same 6 generic brain hacks recycled from a Facebook post, copied from a WikiHow article, and inspired by a motivational quote spray-painted on a New York subway wall? The answer is simple. Read. What kind of reading? That depends. Fiction helps you read faster and improves your vocabulary. Plus, if you read a lot of dialogue, it can even make you feel like you have friends. Most people, however, go straight to nonfiction, which is key if you want to drop interesting facts into conversations. For example, just by reading a single history book, you can sound like an expert in casual discussions. The key is not to be obnoxious about it. Someone might say, "Crazy how we evolved from chimpanzees, right?" Instead of replying with, "Well, actually, evolution is nonlinear, and several human-like species coexisted, none of which could be classified as chimpanzees." Try a more natural approach. Say something like, "It is crazy, right? I was reading the other day, and apparently humans and chimpanzees evolved side by side rather than one coming from the other." This way you sound smart, humble, and like someone who has touched grass before. The key is to share knowledge in a way that doesn't make others feel stupid. That way, people will actually learn from you and start seeing you as intelligent and respectable. Now, how do you find good books? It's really easy. You don't have to read the same 5 books that everyone recommends. Just think of a topic you want to learn about, like cleaning. Then Google books about cleaning. Here's one that looks good. Normally, these books cost money, but if your finger slips, you might accidentally end up on a certain website. And you might, by pure accident, type in the book's title, click the first link, and, oops, download the file and open it with the right ebook viewer. Once you have the book, not only can you pick up cool facts for conversations, but you'll also learn useful skills. There are 10 things you should know before learning any skill. If you don't practice it, your brain will forget it. You only need to master 20% of the knowledge to achieve 80% of the results. This is known as the learning curve. At the beginning, you improve rapidly just by practicing a little. But the key is to practice. Nobody ever learned how to tie a tie just by watching a tutorial. They learned by watching while actually tying the tie. The same goes for books. Reading alone won't make you smarter unless your brain has a reason to remember the information. So if you read a chapter on how to clean a bedroom, go and clean a bedroom, even if it's not yours. That way you'll never forget the lesson. But what if you can't practice something right away? For example, say you're reading a book about cars and it explains how to jump-start a dead battery. Ideally, you'd practice this, but not everyone has 2 cars just lying around. Instead, you can still practice by visualizing it. 543. Imagine yourself in the situation, your car won't start and you need to jump start it. Watch a video and pretend that's your car. By mentally walking through the process, you trick your brain into thinking. You've used the information, making it much easier to remember. Meanwhile, someone who just glanced at a diagram will likely freeze up in a real-life emergency. This is how you get smarter. Apply everything you learned. If you can't use it right away, imagine yourself in a situation where you would. This is basically how school works. You learn something, but since it might be 15 years before you actually use it, your teacher creates an imaginary scenario where it's immediately relevant. That's what a test is. In South Korea, failing could mean prison time. Just kidding. That's only if you cheat. Some people swear by repetition, spaced repetition, interval studying, or mind mapping to improve their grades. But in reality, doing practice questions will get you the best results. Why? Because they simulate the real situations where you'll need to recall that information. If you don't have any practice questions, make some up and convince yourself the stakes are high. Like imagining you're hanging off a cliff and the only way someone will save you is if you can name all the parts of a human cell. Learning is all about making information seem useful to your brain. That's why textbooks are the ultimate tool for getting smart fast. No fluff, no distractions, just pure information and tons of practice problems. If you get stuck, you'll have to flip all the way to page 348 in the appendix to find the answer. Textbooks aren't for casual learners. They're not as fun as watching a YouTube video and forgetting everything an hour later. But if you're up for the challenge, there's a website you might accidentally end up on where you can find free textbooks on any subject.